Okay, do you believe what you see in sport? Professional sport, do you believe what you see?
No.
No, right, let's have a look. Everyone's seen this, right? His name is Mazhar Majid, and he's apparently, allegedly, fixed the Lord's Test. The Lord's Test match. The test match at the home of cricket. At Lord's cricket ground, yeah? He's apparently fixed this test. Apparently, they say nothing's been proved, so they say, but what he said was the first ball of the third over, Amir's going to be bowling, will be a no ball. And then, okay, the last ball, the sixth ball of the 10th over, Asif will be bowling it, and that will be a no ball too. He pocketed £150,000 from a fixer, and lo and behold, in the Lord's Test, those balls were no balls. And it's a thing called spot betting. So that's what he did. Well, apparently he did. So that's the scam. A 35-year-old wide boy gets them to bowl no balls at Lord's and can fix a test match. They have a presentation shamefacedly at the end in the long room because there's the man of the series for Pakistan, Amir, who allegedly took some money to bowl no balls. And there's the captain in the middle. Is Salman Butt, who's the captain of Pakistan. Apparently happy in the company of the wide boy, the apparent fixer, and someone else who was supposedly the undercover agent who actually prepared the fix. So, if he's happy mixing with those people, fine, Of course, match fixing in cricket is not a new thing at all. They've appointed Sir Paul Condon, the ex-Metropolitan Police Commissioner, to investigate cricket corruption years ago, and this is the year 2000, and he came out with the conclusions that match fixing was going on in cricket on a global scale. And of course he was met with a conspiracy of silence, because people weren't going to split on, they were just going to say, no, we're not doing anything wrong. So that's fine. Now, of course, the most famous case of match fixing in cricket concerns Hansie Cronje, the captain of South Africa, who did take a lot of money. It's been proved he got done by the bookmakers in India for fixing test matches. He fixed the test match against England at Centurion Park. He offered his own players lots of money to bat below par, bat below what they should be capable of doing. He also explained to his bowler Henry Williams that he had to bowl very expensively. So it says here, ready to reveal all. Well, that's not quite the case, because he only actually revealed the things they already had evidence for. And it didn't only involve Hansie Cronje. The captain of India, Mohammad Azharuddin, received a life ban from international cricket for match fixing. And the captain of Pakistan, Salim Malik, also received a life ban in cricket for match fixing. So these sort of things seem to go on. When all this came out in the year 2000, the president of the South African board, Ali Bakr, was also making allegations that there was a test match at Headingley was fixed by nobbling the umpires, and that also 2 World Cup games were fixed in England at that time. There was a whole lot of this stuff going on. So Cronje took the stand against the King Commission in 2000 and tearfully admitted that he'd hidden cash and he had an unfortunate love of money, which was very unfortunate for him because he's a born-again Christian and was supposedly doing all these wonderful things for life. So, was he going to say more? Well, Ian Botham certainly thought there was a lot more to come out from Hansie Cronje. But, oh dear, he's dead in a plane crash. In 2002, he suddenly went down in a plane crash, so all his secrets died with him. He was the only passenger in a plane, and it managed to go into the hillside. Oh dear, so it's very convenient, he can't actually say anything now. Now, what's the link between Hansie Cronje and the present Pakistan problems? Well, the coach of the South African team when the Hansie Cronje affair was going on was Bob Woolmer. And I actually met Bob Woolmer once in Canterbury, and I don't think he'd take a bribe. So, but he was the coach in them. He was also the coach at the 2007 World Cup, when Pakistan lost an amazing game to Ireland, like Brazil losing to the Faroe Islands. And the next day, Bob Woolmer's dead as well. The coach was strangled. Well, they said so at the time, and the story was, of course, cricket chief was murdered. The West Indies authorities said he'd been suffered from manual strangulation, was how they put it. Later on, of course, the big boys got involved, and another team came over, and they decided, oh, it wasn't murder at all, and everything's fine. But in the meantime, of course, there was a lot of speculation about what he'd found out, what he was going to do. Was he going to publish items critical of his players? Had he found out something about the amazing defeat to Ireland the previous day? Well, who knows? All the Pakistan team were fingerprinted and under great suspicion, and then, of course, suddenly it becomes that he wasn't at all. So. And the shock result, well, yes, the cricket, it turned into a murder investigation, and they managed to lose to Ireland. They managed to give all their wickets away very cheaply. Well, you know, it could have been real, and it could have been fixed. Can you believe what you're watching in cricket? Michael Vaughan, the England captain of the time, certainly thought he couldn't believe what he was watching in cricket, because he said, cricket is still corrupt, said Michael Vaughan. And as you can see, this season, 2010, 2 players who play for the first-class county Essex have been arrested, and who knows what will go on with those investigations. Many corruption allegations actually just run into the ground because perhaps people in high places don't actually want anyone to be found guilty. Anyway, you make up your mind. Do you believe what you're paying to see or not? Who's that? Know who he is?
No, I don't know.
He's Lord David Treesman. Lord Treesman, a new Labour Lord. He lost his job as the boss of the Football Association this year. Do you remember what he said, which was so awful he had to resign? No. Right, this is what he said. Spain in bid to bribe World Cup referees. That's what he was alleging, that Spain were going to bribe World Cup referees. And referee nobbling in football? I don't know, surely not. And what he said was that basically Spain and Russia were trying to do a deal whereby Spain would, if Russia would help Spain bribe the referees for the Football World Cup in 2010, which they won, didn't they? They won the Football World Cup in 2010. And then if Spain would help them bribe the referees, then they would help Russia get the votes needed to host the 2018 World Cup. That was what he alleged. And of course, they can't say things like that. Referees getting bribed in football doesn't happen, does it? Think again. That's Robert Heuser, who's a referee in the Bundesliga, who actually had to confess to taking bribes to fix Bundesliga matches. Robert Heuser, wonderful referee, sending people off. And of course there was the Marseille team in the 1990s were banned from the French league for match fixing. And Genoa went down for match fixing in Serie A. So all these things seem to happen, but they're not a big club, are they? But oh, Juventus are a big club. Juventus fixed a whole load of matches. There was a Mr. Fix-It called Luciano Moggi, who actually managed to fix by getting the bribed referees, the Referees Association, the Football Federation, a various web of intrigue in order to make sure that Juventus had favourable results. And when he was put on trial about it, he complained that, well, of course, other clubs have got even more powerful people than me looking after them. Who owns AC Milan? Silvio Berlusconi, the Prime Minister of... So, not only were the referees fixed and the Referees Federation, they also managed to influence what was said on television by running the television show, which also said what the things that they wanted to be said about the football. So they not only bribed the referees, but they actually bribed the media as well. Porto were the European champions quite recently. They were found guilty of fixing 2 league matches during the 2004 season. They were fined €150,000, very cheap for fixing 2 football matches. Probably marvellous. Can you believe what you're seeing in the Champions League? That's Dennis Nicolidis, who is Greece's finest striker. He won't play for his country because he says it's all corrupt. The Greek sports minister says results aren't trustworthy, and you're not allowed to bet on domestic matches in Greece because they know it's fiddled. Anyway, there's also the other frauds that go on. We've had the Grobbelaar affair in Britain where 2 juries couldn't come to agreement on it. There's the normal frauds. The present owners of West Ham, the previous owners of Birmingham City have been arrested on fraud allegations, but of course none of these allegations have ever been proved. Ken Bates also regularly. Terry Venables has been done as a person unfit to be a public to lead a public company. Harry Redknapp's also been arrested. Unproved allegations, all that stuff. Then there was the FA seemed to be doing all sorts of nonsense. And there was this recent, a couple of years ago, investigations of a thrown match in the Premier League as well. But a lot of these investigations seem to not be able to come anywhere. Then there's the headbutt that Zinedine Zidane did in the 2006 World Cup final, when he said that Marco Materazzi had been saying nasty things over insults to his mother and his sister, so he headbutted in the chest. A very strange action in a very strange game. I don't think Zinedine Zidane would take a bribe, but thanks to Andrew Jennings and Andy Davis, who are 2 fine journalists, they've dug up an awful lot about various organised crime organisations. Maybe Zidane was made an offer he couldn't refuse in terms of his life. So I don't know what happened there. It certainly was a very strange incident. There's also Mike Newell was manager of Luton Town Football Club, and he alleged a whole load of payments to agents, a load of illegal payments. Mike Newell is no longer in football management. I don't think he's even in the game, because who will give him a job? He's an honest man. Can you believe what you're seeing? Okay, what about other sports? Things like boxing, where young boxers have to do what the trainer says, or they won't get the fights, they won't get promoted. Same with jockeys. If a young jockey has no power, he does what the trainers and the owners who call the shots say. If he doesn't do what they say, or stop a horse, or go easy on that horse, if he doesn't do that, he won't get the rights, he won't get on. This was Kieran Fallon, who features in lots of corruption allegations, and he's been done for lots of things as well. He's the champion jockey, incidentally. He said the horse wouldn't win hours before it lost in a big race. And then there's another jockey, corruption charges. They're 10 a penny, all these things happen. Now, here's a very interesting book. It's called The Barry Brogan Story. Barry Brogan Story, a very interesting book written by a top jockey in the 1960s called Barry Brogan. And in that he makes lots of allegations about the sort of things. Bookmakers were always approaching him and lots of other riders in saying, stop his horse, do this. He also knew some very prominent people there. If you could see, there's Barry Brogan with some very prominent people. Anyway, he made lots of these allegations. I'd love to be able to say read this book, but of course it's been out of print for years. But I'll pass it round so you can have a look at it. There's lots of things. Nobody can ever read this stuff. It says basically when a horse was supposed to win, it did every time. And he also said what happened to the fraud investigations that went on. Basically, people in high places would make sure that nothing ever happened. The police were forbidden from making logical progress, and the probes died natural deaths. It seemed to happen in the horse racing, these sort of things. So then there's a trainer who got fined £5,000 for sending the wrong horse to races for the 3rd time in 2.5 years. A strange way to run it. And a recent one where a jockey managed to jump over a fence and then jump off. It looks amazing. Perhaps he really fell off. Can you believe what you're seeing? That's Jeremy Phipps, the head of security at the Jockey Club. I think he bears quite a resemblance to the upper-class twit of the year, as supposed by John Cleese. But if you watch part 5 of Bent Horse Racing, you'll see the lovely way Andy Davis did him in the Panorama expose of horse racing. A very interesting programme, that. The BBC actually went to the High Court to enable it to be shown, and the High Court ruled that it was in the public interest to show this BBC 2002 expose of horse racing. But now it's disappeared from the archives. It's gone down the memory hole. Nobody even knows that programme took place unless you got a video of it. What happened to the BBC in the years since 2002?